morning, everyone. It's Brenda Quintana coming to you live from the Beehive this morning. Last week was an exciting week. I earned the incentive trip to Alaska. Stampin' Up! Has an incentive trip every year for demonstrators who earn a certain amount of money in sales. And so thank you so much to all of my customers and my downline team. I really appreciate you helping me get there. My son and husband love to travel, so this is something that I can do for them. So we will be going to Alaska on a cruise that starts in Seattle. Good morning, Lisa. We will be going next summer in 2018 to Alaska. So thank you so much to everyone that helped me get there. I really appreciate it. So today is Casing Tuesday, and we take a card out of the catalog. Hi, Lisa. We take a card out of the catalog and we copy it. So you can take the card, you can copy it exactly, or you can copy it and change it. And I try to copy and change it usually, because that's kind of the fun of what I like about Casing Tuesday. So I'm going to turn the camera around and show you the original card and show you my card, and then I'm going to show you how to make my card. So let me do the little flippy thing. So let's just do this. Sorry that it's kind of crazy when I do this, but I have to get it set up. You can see the top of my head now, and let me go ahead and flip my camera. Ooh, there we go. All right, so this is the card that we're going to be casing out of the annual catalog. It's on page 199, and it might be a card that you don't recognize because it's at the very back of the catalog and it's in with the hostess sets. But I was flipping through the catalog the other day and I saw this card and I was like, yeah, we need to case that one. I like the layout. It's I like the tearing on the side and the kind of the grungy look, and I thought maybe we could recreate that with another set because I don't have this stamp set. So good morning, Nancy. And so I thought we could do it with a different stamp set. So I did it with a You've Got This stamp set, and I think it works just as well because it has everything you need in it to create the card. It has this flower, it has this greeting, and it has this kind of cross-hatch background that we can use. On this card, they used, what is the name of that? Timeless Textures in the background on that set. But if you do my card, you have everything, all the stamps you need in one stamp set. So I'm going to show you how to make this. And let me just move some things out of the way. Okay. You need a piece of Very Vanilla. I like the Very Vanilla on this color combination. And to start with, we're going to be tearing it. So you kind of just need a base, you know, not exact measurements, but if you want exact measurements for this layer, I cut a piece to 4 inches by 4 1/4 inches. Just make sure when you stamp it that the 4 1/4 inch length is the one that's going up and down. Hi, Janine. Glad you're here. So just make sure this is the 4 1/4 inch side, otherwise you're going to be short if you do it on this direction. So you'll need your basic black archival ink pad. Let me open that up. And I've got this little greeting mounted and it says, I'm here for you. I'm just going to ink that up and I'm going to stamp it maybe like 1/2 inch from the side and pretty close to the bottom because we have to fit that flower on there. Oops, I'm throwing stuff around. Okay, and then we're going to take this big flower stamp and I'm going to ink it up while it's facing up because it's easier to do that with the big stamps. And just get that going. And I should mention while I'm doing this, I'll try and mention at least once more, if you're not already part of our Casing Tuesday Facebook group, that is your way of participating in this challenge. So after I finish this video, I will post the link to that group and all you have to do is ask to join. And then each week we do a different card, and you can join us and you can share the card that you make based on the card of the week. And then we can comment on your design as well. So it's kind of fun. It's a little bit more interactive than just watching me stamp, and then, you know, you never get a chance to stamp and show me anything. You can show me what you're doing. So I'm going to take this rose, well, maybe it's not a rose, maybe it's a peony, and I'm just going to kind of put the stem down here in between the here and the 4, and just kind of bring it down like that. With these big stamps, you want to make sure that you take a few seconds to make sure you've got good contact with the paper. And I just kind of give it, I don't give it a big wiggle, but I just give it a little wiggle from side to side and top to bottom to make sure that all the edges have come into contact with the cardstock. So there is the flower. And then I'm just going to close up my ink pad. I just feel like I'm going to stick something in it. Now, with this archival ink, if you let it dry for a minute or two, you should be good to watercolor on it. But because I want to watercolor on it right away, I'm just going to take my heat tool. It's tangled up. Just hold on 1 second. Okay, my heat tool. Oh, and one other thing I need to do. I need to plug in my phone. It's low battery. Just give me a second. There we go. All right, so I'm just going to take my heat tool. And I'm just going to just really quickly just heat set the ink, because I'm going to watercolor this and I don't want the black to run into the color. Okay, that should be good. And then I'm going to take my aqua painter, and we have different ways to watercolor. Good morning, Cheryl. Nice to see you here. And one of the ways to watercolor is with the aqua painters. Now, some people think it's like aqua painters are hard to work with. I just like to make sure I keep my brush fairly dry and not too sopping wet. So I always have a tissue or a paper towel, so I keep that handy. And I'm going to start off with Melon Mambo ink. And to get a pool of ink, you just need to squeeze the lid of your ink pad. And that will create this blob of ink on your lid, and that's what we're going to watercolor with. So with this flower, I'm going to do a quick and dirty watercoloring. Good morning, Catherine. Nice to see you. I'm going to just dip my, this is not quite wet yet, so let me squeeze a little bit of water through here. Make sure my brush is like a little bit wet, but not too wet. So I'm simultaneously squeezing while taking some of the water away. So I'm just going to pick up some of the ink, and normally I would scribble this on some paper first, but I'm actually going to just start on one corner, and I'm just going to work my way up, and I am just really randomly coloring this, not even paying attention to shading. I'm just going dark, 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 and then I'm letting it fade out. It's getting a little bit too watery. And I just want to quickly do this. I can come back and hit some of the areas afterwards if I want to darken them. But I just kind of want to get a little bit of ink on here to start off with. And I'm not worrying so much about where I'm putting the ink. Sometimes that's the hold up with the watercoloring, is that we're so worried about where we're putting the ink, and then it just it doesn't really matter in the end anyway. So I can come back and deepen some of the bottoms of these petals just to give the effect that there's a little bit more light on top. I'll do a little bit of darkening up at the top. Okay. But I actually like the way that looks. I did go outside the lines a little bit, but that's just like really quick and dirty. So that's kind of cool, right? So let me squeeze the water through so I can clean my brush. Okay, and then let's switch to the next color. And for the next color, I'm going to use Wild Wasabi. Again, squeeze the ink pad. And I've got my little pool right here. And again, I'm just going to take some of that Wild Wasabi going to come through, just hit my leaf. I'm going to come through and hit my leaf again. And I did go outside the lines a little bit, but we're going to take another stamp and go right over top. Part of the reason that I don't have a lot of controls, I'm standing while I'm doing this, so I'm not really close enough to actually be doing a really good job of aqua painting or watercoloring with it, but it will still look good in the end. So I can come back and I can deepen the bottoms of the leaves just a little bit, just to give it a little bit of a darker look. And then we just need to do one more color, and that will be with my crushed curry. Squeeze the lid, open it up. Oh, not all the way. I need my little pool of ink. And then I'm going to take some of this crushed curry and just hit the center of the flower where the little stamen are, like that. That is really quick and dirty watercoloring. So, you know, if you're scared to watercolor with the aqua painter, this is not watercolor paper. So, you know, you might get a little bit of warping of the paper, but if you keep your brush a little bit towards the dry side, you should be okay. This is kind of a distress card anyway, so we don't really want it flat and perfect. So keep that in mind too. I'm going to now tear this edge, so I'll do that from the bottom. So I'll start right here, and I'm just going to kind of come along and start tearing. Your card, when you tear, might not look identical to mine, or it might not look like the first card you tore. That's part of the charm of having a torn piece off the card. I like to tear it from the bottom and kind of coming up so that rough edge is towards the top rather than the bottom, because now what we're going to do, I'm going to take just a piece of computer paper to put underneath here because I'm going to stamp off a little bit. So I'm going to take my Sahara Sand ink pad, open that up, and then I'm going to take this crosshatch piece and I'm going to ink that up. If you guys have any questions at all while I'm doing this, please feel free and pop in if something comes to mind. I'm going to ink this stamp facing up, and this is Sahara Sand again. Sahara Sand is a very light color, and that's why I'm choosing it, because I'm going to stamp it right over top of my flower, and if it's a dark color, it's going to look awful. But if it's a light color, it's going to look great. So I'm just going to take it, and I'm going to stamp it right over top of my flower. And let's see how that looks. Ooh, isn't that pretty? I love that. Okay, I can't remember if I cleaned the ink off my greeting from the last time I used it, so I'm just going to give this a quick cleaning. This is my Stampin' Scrub right here. It's kind of got two sides, a wet side and a dry side. So I'm just going to clean that off. I'm going to bring back in my Sahara Sand, and I'm just going to take this same stamp, I'm Here For You, and I'm going to ink it up in the Sahara Sand. And I'm going to stamp it a couple of times just over top of my flower, just so it's in the background. You can kind of see it's just going to add like a little bit of detail to the flower. Just a couple of times, maybe one down here, one over here. So, oh, I'm glad you like it. Thank you for the hearts. Okay, so that is the stamping, and now we just need to take a sponge dauber. And I just started a new sponge dauber for my Sahara Sand. My other one was getting a little old and starting to flake off. So I'm just going to pick up some of the ink off of my ink pad with this little sponge dauber die. And I need to sponge this all the way around just to kind of give it some more distressing and just to make it look a little bit more aged and antiqued. So I'm just going to go all the way around and give it
a little bit more ink. Okay, I'm almost there. Yeah, and if you want to, you could add a little bit more ink than that, like especially maybe on this edge right here, just so it deepens it a little bit. But I won't continue to do that on camera. So, thank you, Janine. I'm glad you like the card. Okay, so now we just really need to put this card together. This was the hard part, getting the focal point ready. So now we just need the extra pieces. So, for the card base, I used a piece of Melon Mambo, and I cut this piece to 8.5 inches by 5.5 inches. And I've lost all my bone folders. Oh, just give me a second. There's one across the way. I have 3 bone folders, and whenever I'm looking for one, I can't find one. So I'll just fold this along my little score line, because I scored it in half at the 4 1/4 inch mark. And then I'll use my bone folder to smooth down that fold, so hopefully it lays flat. And then it's going to open up on the bottom, and I'm going to need a piece of crushed curry cardstock, and I cut this piece to 4 1/4 by 4 1/4. Thank you, Lisa. I'm glad you love this card. Hi, Kathy. Glad you joined us. And I'm going to use some Tombow to glue down this layer. Okay, there's a little bit of dry glue stuck to the bottom of my Tombow, as usual. But hopefully, there we go. It's coming now. We'll just put a little bit around the edge, a little squiggle in the center. And for this one, I'm going to put it a little bit closer to the left side than the right, and just kind of maneuver that onto my card like that. Then we need to put this layer down, and this is some burlap ribbon. It comes on a roll like this. It's great because it's kind of neutral, and I've cut a 5-inch length of that. So to get that onto my card, glue might not do so well for that. So I'm just going to take a piece of this Terran tape. Let me find the end. Why can I not find the end? There it is. Okay, so I'm just going to put a piece of Terran tape kind of close to the center, the middle of the card. You just need a little piece across the center like that. And I'm going to remove the liner. And then you can just take your piece and just stick it along the center. Kind of like that. This was a 5-inch length, but I think that's a little long. Let me just snip off a little bit. Okay, now I have burlap pieces on the side, but okay, that looks a little better. And then I'm going to take a length of this linen thread to tie around it. And this one I just kind of measured it just so you have an idea, but this was 44 inches, and then I bent it, I doubled it over. So it's like 22 inches if you use a single strand, and 44 if it's a double. And I just doubled it up, and then I'm just going to tie it around this burlap piece. So just make sure. I want to put the bow right close to the edge of the crushed curry cardstock. So I gave myself plenty to tie with. So if you want to be a little bit more stingy, you could probably get away with like 40 inches, I think. And then I'm going to use my little locking tweezers right here. They're going to help hold down my knot. And Stampin' Up! Does not sell locking tweezers, but you can get them at in the beading section of a craft store if you're interested. Usually they come in a set of tweezers that you would use for beading. And I'm just going to tie my knot on the side. Make it a little smaller, of course. Now one of my loops. Okay. Tying a bow on camera is always fun because you're just like fumbling around, but I think that looks pretty good. Let me remove my locking tweezers. Thank you for the hearts. And then I'm just going to tighten this up just a wee bit. Just a wee bit. Oh, tighten, tighten. All right. So then I just need to kind of snip off these longer ends. Like that. And then let's put on this last piece. Let me move that. Okay, that looks good. I'm going to attach this piece with dimensionals because I need it to stick up beyond the burlap ribbon. So I've got my little dimensionals here. I'll put one in each of the corners. And then I think I'm going to put one just kind of in the center to give it some support. But I'm going to omit the spot where the burlap ribbon is going to come through. So then I just need to remove the liners. Thank you for the thumbs up. So, does anyone else have trouble sometimes watercoloring? Like, do you have issues when you watercolor and you worry about perfection and you're just like, oh, it's not going to work, and then you end up getting too much water or something on your project? I think it just takes a little bit of practice. What I would do if you do not, like if you want to learn how to watercolor and you're not getting the results you want, go and stamp a full sheet, like take an 8.5 by 11 sheet and just go ahead and stamp that sheet with a bunch of images and just sit down and practice. That's what I would do. Also, if you want to use watercolor paper is so much more forgiving if you want to start off with that too, but it just takes a little bit of practice. Okay, so let me just kind of get this lined up on the side. Thank you for all the thumbs up. Thank you, thank you. And so I just added that right over top of the other layer. And there it is. It's so easy in a sense, but I love the bright colors of this card, and because I normally don't choose such bright, vibrant colors, and just casing this card allowed me to play with a different style than I normally do. So that's kind of the fun part about Casing Tuesday. So if you want to order the supplies to make this card, you can go to my blog, cubiesquest.com. Today, this blog post will be the first one, but in the description of the video, I will also post links to my blog. And on my blog, you'll find a complete supply list. You'll find the measurements for all my layers. And I will upload this video to YouTube afterwards. So if you want to find it again, you can find it. And if you haven't already joined our Casing Tuesday Facebook group, I hope you will join it, because this way I can interact with you. You can make the same card as me. Like, you can go to page 199 of the annual catalog, and it's this card here, and you can copy it. If you don't have a copy of the catalog in hand, we also post a photo up at the top, and the current one is always posted to the top of the group. And you can just do your own version of this card. And then my downline, Catalina, she was the one that actually started Casing Tuesday. She's also on there. She does a card every single week as well. And we all comment on each other's cards. So it's kind of fun to get on there and see what everyone else is doing with this card. Sometimes they choose different colors. Sometimes they choose a different stamp set. Sometimes people are like, I like the card as it is, and they just recreate it exactly as it is in the catalog, and that's great too. So we just kind of have fun over there, and we post our cards. So I hope you will join us, and that link again will be in the description of this video, so that you can just click on it and we'll approve your request to be part of the group, and then you can join us over there. So I don't see any questions. I'll just give you a couple minutes, or not a couple minutes, I'll give you a few seconds, see if anyone has a question. Good morning, Barbara. I'm glad you joined us. I hope you got to see part of the video, but if you didn't, it will be available right now. As soon as I finish this video, it will be available on my Facebook page, and then a little bit later I will get it all linked up to YouTube so that you can find it later on. But I'm very happy with the way this card turned out. It's not generally my style of card, but it really only took me, I want to say it took me like half an hour to design this card. last night, right from start to finish, getting all the ink pads out and everything like that, because I had a starting point. That's the great thing about casing a card and changing some things about it, is you have a starting point and it doesn't take you that long. So that's the cool thing about that. Let me flip you guys around one more time. And let me,
Oh, there's me. All right. Well, I don't see any more questions, but I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you will check back here next Tuesday, because I do a Facebook Live on the Casing Tuesday card every single week. And so I hope you all have a great week, and I will see you next week. Bye for now.